All right. So we're still talking about those two macroeconomic effects that can cause the shift in the aggregate demand curve to be different from the change in the level of G. So if G is $5 billion, the government increases government expenditures by $5 billion. That does not mean that the increase in output is going to be $5 billion. It's going to be different. It's different because of the multiplier effect and what we're talking about right now, the crowding out effect. So basically the crowding out effect works in the opposite direction than the multiplier effect does. So the crowding out effect is an offset of aggregate demand. So it results when the expansionary fiscal policy, that $5 billion in extra government expenditures, ends up raising the interest rate. And therefore, it raises the interest rate for everybody, for all the businesses out there and all the consumers out there. If they want to buy a car, or people want to buy a house, or businesses want to expand because the government's been demanding so much savings from the public, interest rates go up, and that makes borrowing money a little bit more expensive for everybody. Here it is on the graph. Number one, so we still have the multiplier effect here. So when, as a result of the multiplier effect, a $5 billion increase in government spending increases aggregate demand by an amount even more than $5 billion, right? So we move from point A all the way to the yellow dotted line here on the right, the graph on the right. That's the multiplier effect all the way to 82. So what is that showing? Well, that's showing that people are going to be buying a lot more goods and services. The quantity of output has increased a lot. That increased government spending increases people's income, which makes people spend more. So because people spend more, people make more, and because people are making more money, they spend more money. So anyways, that multiplier effect brings everything out to 82, and that means that people are going to be demanding a lot more goods and services. So number two, the increase in spending increases money demand. People buy more goods and services, so they demand more money in order to do that. And that increases the equilibrium interest rate. All right, so interest rates go up, right? And so that in turn, number four, that in turn partly offsets the increase in the aggregate demand to AD3. All right, so that is the crowding out of investment. All right, guys, a little bit of multiplier practice here. The economy is in a recession. Shifting the aggregate demand curve rightward by $20 billion would end this recession. You guys have determined, right, that and we're in a closed economy, by the way, so there is no marginal propensity to import in a closed economy that we need to factor in. In a closed economy, there's only the marginal propensity to consume, and the only leakage is the marginal propensity to save, right? So if our marginal propensity to consume is 0.8, therefore in a closed economy, the marginal propensity to save must be 0.2. Okay, so anyways, people are going to be using 80% of their money that they get, this 80% of this extra income that they get from government expenditures, they're going to be spending that in consumption. All right, anyways, so there is no crowding out in this example. How much the government increase G directly so they can end this recession? This is not too hard to figure out at all. So what we have to do is we have to calculate what the multiplier is, and that's by this formula right here. Easy enough, right? And in this case, it's 1 divided by 1 minus 0.8. And if you do the math on that, that's going to be 5. So we know that we have to, this is the multiplier, we know we have to multiply some number to get $20 billion. All right, so it's kind of obvious what it is right now, right? We have to multiply 5 by some number to get 20. So we just have to take $20, $20 billion, excuse me, divided by 5, and we get $4 billion. That's how much, ladies and gentlemen, that is how much you, as the finance minister, would have to spend into the economy to get $20 billion of output. You would have to put $4 billion worth of G. All right, so the answer we got on the previous slide, G was supposed to equal $4 billion in order to get an increase of $20 billion worth of output to end this recession. So anyways, B, if there is a crowding out effect, will the government need to increase G more or less than that $4 billion? That's right. If there is a crowding out effect, we would have to increase G more than $4 billion. Maybe $4.5 billion or $5 billion or whatever in that case. All right, so we've been talking about fiscal policy basically in terms of government spending. All right, we've been increasing government spending by $5 billion. That increases G. Yeah, okay, but there's another tool of fiscal policy, and that is taxes. So basically, we can change the level of taxes, and that has an impact on the economy as well. So taxation, well, basically, if the government reduces taxes, what's going to happen? Well, households will likely spend some of this extra income. Their taxes just went down. Now they have more disposable income. So they're likely to spend some of that. And that's going to shift the aggregate demand curve to the right. And, both of the macroeconomic effects that we've been talking about, the multiplier effect as well as the crowding out effect, both of them still apply. Because, I guess we're keeping our government spending the same, but we're reducing our taxes, but that government spending is the same. So that means that governments are going to have to borrow more money in order to maintain that level of spending. So they're borrowing more money, so the crowding out effect is going to apply. And also, everybody gets more income because of the reduced taxes, so they consume more and they invest more. So both of the macroeconomic effects, the multiplier effect and the crowding out effect, still apply when you're reducing taxes. And that taxes are also a form of fiscal policy.